This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author U and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, I have a lot to share with you about what's been going on. For example, last night we had our very first webinar. It was a great webinar on blurbs and book endorsements and how do you get reviews. And it was all the setup that we are doing now, getting ready to go for the Publishing at Sea 2015 cruise that we will be traveling with a few dozen. We never make these cruises very big because there's hot seats throughout. It's very intense. And we had over 100 plus people. Very active questions. So we had a great time. Next week, I'll be doing a webinar and looking at that, and we will be doing a focus totally on book publishing costs. What to expect when you think you're expecting. So book publishing costs, as well as I've gone through a very extensive timeline that from 12 months out, what you should be doing as you set up and move closer and closer to your birth date, and then what do you do once it's born and moving on. So that's next week's webinar. You can find information on the publishingatsea.com website, and we will have the replay of last night's webinar that Amy Collins and Joan Stewart and I did, available later on today. So do check in with that. And I'm excited because tomorrow I have the pleasure of working with 36 authors, a very intensive 2 days with me, and it's Judith Briles Unplugged here in Denver. So we'll be doing 2 days, and as soon as I'm done with this program, we are off to the hotel, but we're not going to leave without deep diving into a very important topic, and that is book tours. Do you do them or do you not do them? You see, I come from the era that when I signed with a publisher, and 18 of my 31 books have been with New York publishers, I always went out on tour. Well, that's kind of dinosaurian today for most authors, but not you who are listening in, because I've got a pro, I've got an expert who is going to take you on the journey of how to create a successful virtual book tour, what they're all about, the things you should be looking for, the ingredients you need for the make it or break it. And with me is D'vorah Lansky, who is the author of Book Marketing Made Easy and 21 Ways to Launch a Successful Virtual Book Tour. She's also the producer of the annual Book Marketing Conference Online and the founder of Build a Business with Your Book Success System. What D'vorah is about is supporting authors, and she likes to develop their online presence. She's passionate about online marketing, as well as helping authors grow their business and their book sales, and I'm all for that. So let's just jump into it, and welcome, D'vorah. Hi, how are you today?
I am great, Judith. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I love this topic because, you know, that certainly authors are tuned into, I think they're getting more tuned into, D'vorah, to the ideal of a virtual blog tour. But and actually that is part of a book tour, but they don't think of a totally virtual book tour. How do I put it together? What's it about? And what is this new animal? And you're going to tell us all about it. So why don't you let us know a little bit how you got started all in working with authors, and then we'll jump forward into the book tour idea.
Okay, sounds great. Well, how I got started working with authors, I was about 2006. I was teaching social media strategies to local business professionals at our chambers of commerce and local networking groups. And someone approached me and asked if I would teach a virtual course to their group that meets weekly via phone. And I have a teaching background, and I've always been taught that as long as you stay a step or two ahead of the students, you can teach anything that you're comfortable with and you have proficiency in. And so that became my first online course. And it was so successful that I started teaching other courses, and then I realized that I could reach even more people if I wrote a book. So I wrote a book, and then I realized that, well, at that point I was still under the myth that the publisher promotes the book. I was that was clarified pretty quickly, and I realized that I was responsible for publishing, for promoting the book, for marketing the book. And I had been marketing online since 1994, and so I said, well, I'm going to use online marketing strategies. So I started doing that, and they were so successful that authors started approaching me and asking me if I would teach them how to market their books online. And long story short, I decided to focus my marketing energies on working specifically with authors. And so it's been a wonderful journey.
And that's, that's about the year. Well, I have been talking about authors about my books. As soon as I published my first one back in the 80s, I decided to pay it forward, and I started sharing information. But it really wasn't until 2006 that I decided, I was so sick of being on the road all the time, and being in 10 and 12 cities and in states, literally a month, that I decided I need more to stay home. And I've always loved, writing and authoring, and besides the other items that I had, and this is what I was about. So that's when I did the crossover too, just saying, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to work with authors, which I love. So,
I know it is pretty amazing. Judith, I'm wondering if by chance you have some speakers on your desk that are on, because I'm hearing an echo, so I just thought I'd mention that just in case.
There are no speakers on, just me.
Oh. Okay, so we'll hope for the best.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into what is a virtual book tour?
So a virtual book tour is much like a traditional book tour, but instead of traveling from city to city and venue to venue and schlepping or sending boxes of books and hoping people will show up and hoping that we'll sell books, we do it online virtually by traveling from blog to blog, from radio show to internet radio show to internet radio show, to Google Hangout, reaching readers across the globe at a time that's convenient for them. And the content that we share is available ongoing into the future. And so rather than just having an hour at the bookstore, our content can be up on the internet for years or decades on a wide variety of sites. And so you really can reach an incredible number of new audiences.
And it's the number of new audiences. You're not just talking about the radio station when we used to go out on these tours, and I've done TV and radio, and I've done satellite tours too, where you literally get up at 4 a.m. and you start across the country, and you might do 40 one-on-one interviews in a 3-hour period of time. It's grueling actually when you do those. So the idea of reaching out virtually to so many so quickly, and the fact is, if it's recorded, it's not just a one-time shot. It's multiple over and over and over again.
Exactly, and it's not just audio recordings. It could be written blog posts. It could be Google Hangouts. It could be written interviews. It could be audio interviews. It could be PowerPoint presentations with voiceover. You're basically limited by your imagination. And in essence, what happens is the author wants to identify, to start with blogs that attract their target audience. Because if you have a chance to be on stage in front of 500 people in an auditorium, do you want people who are interested in anything, or do you want people who are incredibly interested in exactly what your book's about? And so by focusing on connecting with blog owners who attract your target audience, you're going to be speaking and writing and sharing with people who will very likely go on to buy your book, who will want to find out more about your products and your programs, and will want to promote you to others. So it becomes this great network as well as a place to share ideas.
So when you're putting together, let's get into those elements of, I think we should need about 2.5 minutes before our first break. But as we get into those, how do we go about identifying the reach out? Is it the same thing that you have to follow someone's blog or the connection and then hopefully that you can pick it up the way, or is there shortcuts, or help us out here?
Okay. Well, what I recommend is if you're I speak mostly in the area of nonfiction authors, and so this can be translated to fiction authors, but I'll just speak about from the point of view of a nonfiction author at this point. And that is, if you wrote the book on the topic, you have expertise on the topic, and you very likely know experts in your field. And you probably are very friendly with some of them to where you can reach out and let them know that you'll be conducting a virtual book tour. And instead of saying, would you host me? You can say, I would love to feature your blog as a destination and drive a lot of traffic to your site and share some great content with your audience. So you're coming from a place of giving. And once you do that with 2 or 3 people that you know, on those blogs, you can look to see, do they have guest bloggers? And then you could click through and get to know those bloggers and comment on blog posts and reach out on social networks and say, I saw you on Judith's blog, and I'm on Judith's blog too. And so you start to build a relationship. But you start with your warm market and then who they know. That makes it so easy to branch out.
So it is very similar to creating a virtual blog tour. I mean, and having those pre-relationships set up so you can do that, and then you go forward as you move along.
Exactly.
So that's what it's all about, relationships. I mean, how many times have we said that? That in the old days, when I first started writing, we had publicists that handled everything. And we were just kind of unknown. I think we were kept authors. Now the authors have to learn to keep themselves. All right, so with that said, we're going to take a quick break here. D'vorah Lansky is my guest. We're talking virtual book tours. How do you create it and put it together? We'll be right back. This is Author U, your guide to book publishing, and I'm Judith Briles.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Is there a book in you or another? Author U will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. Author U brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through Author U's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content-heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, Author U is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join Author U today through its website at authoru.org. Follow Author U on Twitter at Author U and on Facebook at Author U, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. Author U, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
Sell stuff? Do you want to sell books? Lots of them? If yes, you must take credit cards, the most widely used form of payment today. The Free Terminal has created a special program for your guide to book publishing listeners. No contract. All equipment is free. Extremely low rates and no termination fees ever. Contact Alan Dean at alan@thefreeterminal.com or call him at 303-668-6828. The Free Terminal has handled all credit card transactions for both Author U and Judith for over a year. Don't wait another day. Contact Alan at thefreeterminal.com or call 303-668-6828 and tell him you want the no contract Author U deal.
Every picture tells a story. And it's a truism that people do judge a book by its cover. Nick Sellinger and NZ Graphics have been in the business of producing superior graphic cover design and interior layout for self-published authors, independent and traditional publishers for years. He has developed a reputation for excellent work, fast turnarounds, and best of all, affordable pricing. NZ Graphics also produces ebooks and book marketing materials such as posters, sell sheets, postcards, bookmarks, business cards, logos, and more. Books designed for his clients have won multiple book awards, including Best Book Award by U.S. Book News, multiple Evie Awards from the Colorado Independent Publishers Association, Indie Book Awards, the San Francisco Book Festival Award, and Freedom Medal Award from Valley Forge. Visit www.nzgraphics.com or call 303-985-4174 for more details about making your book the success it should be. Mention that you are an FOJ, friend of Judith's, and that you heard about NZ Graphics on your guide to book publishing.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Today, it's all about creating a virtual book tour. And my guest is D'vorah Lansky, and she actually has some wonderful gifts for you. If you go over to virtualbooktoursmadeeasy.com and just wander around on the website, and you'll find a variety of tools to help you out. All right, so D'vorah, we're talking about, we identified some of the elements, the critical elements that we're going to need to get going, which means we need relationships with people who are going to do the shout-outs for you. And what else would you add to that?
Well, the relationships are so important, Judith, because what I see, the mistakes that I see people making with virtual book tours is they outsource their finding virtual book tour stops to a random site or to a service or to a VA who doesn't really understand their industry. And they get set up to tour to blogs that don't even attract their audience, that have nothing to do with their topic, and the blog owners are not invested at all in the success of the author. And that's not going to get them very far. Instead, they're better off starting with their warm market, building, getting the people that they know to become their first hosts by letting them know that they'll benefit by being featured as a destination on their virtual book tour. And then from there, getting introductions and taking the time to get to know other blog owners by reading their blog post and leaving thoughtful comments and answering questions so you show your expertise. Then what happens is when you have a relationship with someone and they care about you and they see that you're a giving and kind person, they're going to promote you. And they're going to email their list, and they're going to send out tweets, and they're going to care that your book is going to be successful. And it's a world of difference. And so to take the time, it's not, when you plan a tour, it's not, okay, I think I'll start my tour next week. You want to start months ahead of time by developing those relationships and preparing your content so that during your tour you can really connect with your audience and interact through your tour. But
well, let's talk about the timeline. I think that's important to do. So when we're looking at a timeline out, it's not something, unless you have a gazillion followers, and you're just say, okay, everyone, I'm rolling out here. But you have to develop those relationships. So how many months out should we be thinking?
I really encourage authors to take 3 to 4 months, because that way you can do it, and I'm going to share the different segments that the authors can focus on without getting stressed out or overwhelmed. So the first month is all about identifying tour stops, specifically blogs and radio shows, perhaps on Blog Talk Radio, places like that, and identifying and connecting with authors and lining up tour stops. And that taking that time to build those relationships and then lining up those tour destinations. That could take a month or 6 weeks. And once you have that in place, you can then schedule 2 or 3 weeks to focus on creating content. And the content can be written blog posts. If you have the rights to your book, you can publish sections of your, like book excerpts or sections of your book and then expand. You can also conduct interviews, author interviews with the people who are hosting you. And they're going to love that because it's content for their audience, and then it gives you more exposure. And when you share content via audio, instead of people skimming an article and leaving, they're going to be with you for 15, 30, 60 minutes, however long the interview is. And
How long do you recommend having an interview for?
Well, I've heard today that people are shooting for 20-minute interviews, and I've tried as I might, and I can't keep my interviews under 45 minutes. So I typically go 45 minutes to an hour, and that seems to be a good amount of time.
Well, you can cover a lot. Now, are those straight through? Do they have any breaks for sponsors, or is it all talk?
It's usually interactive talk where the author's talking. The author and the host are like we're talking now, sharing ideas, asking questions, answering questions, and then the promotion would be all about the book because the focus of the book is the virtual book tour, and not in a commercial break, but the host could say, if you're just joining us, we're talking today about the virtual book tour of so-and-so, and their book title is such and such. You can check it out at www. And then you go right back into the the conversation. So you can kind of intersperse it during the conversation.
Well, here's something I think that makes this, because I'm digging down into my background and my old pedigree. I've been on, when I did all this stuff, all the major shows, from Oprah to Good Morning America to, oh my God, Geraldo. I've been featured from the Wall Street Journal to the National Enquirer. I've been all over the place. And one of the things that this does, your book tour, and because you've developed the relationships, you're going to your segment, you've got your myopic glasses on here, and I want to interact with someone who, let's say, that loves romance books. So whoever's following them is into that arena as well. So you've already set up, number one, you've got this relationship. Number two, you've already set up that audience going on, versus when I was out there doing what we did the old-fashioned way on the author tours, you have no idea who was watching you. They could be throwing popcorn at the TV or the radio for all you know. And where here you have a pre-selected audience that is open to who you are as an author as well as what you're writing about. So I think that makes it far more effective. It really ties it down into the niching of things, which I think is so powerful. So
it does, and it gives you quite a reach because, again, using the analogy of being at a bookstore from 5 to 6 p.m. and selling your books from 6 to 6:30 and then you're gone, your content's available on demand for years or decades.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we're starting about 3 to 4 months out, developing relationships. So they're warm and fuzzy and they're ready to go. And then you're going to create, you the author are going to create content, which is you're going to have some pre-written stuff. And if you're publishing your own work, then of course you've got control of your book, so you don't have to worry about a publisher jumping up and down or something, that you can offer them. And then would you recommend that they come up certainly to help the interviewer with some pre-questions, so they can have that conversation, which is far more interesting than getting into what I call a lawyer interview. Yes, no type thing.
Oh, that's actually something that I teach authors, and that is because it's so important to develop what I call an author kit, your author interview kit, and you can use it for written as well as audio content, but in the sense of being interviewed via audio, your host will need an introduction, and they can spend an hour or 45 minutes figuring out what to say. That's a lot of, pressure and time on their end, and they might not say what you want them to say, or they may be locating content that's out of date. So I recommend about 100 to 125 word introduction that's short and sweet. It has your name, your credentials, your book title, 1 or 2 sentences about what you do, and then an invitation for people to come over to your site and get to know you. And then from there, having a couple of different sets of questions, because one set of questions could be all about you, your author journey, how you came up with the idea for the book, what people can expect in the book. So it's all about the book and all about you as the author. Another set of questions, so for example, I've written a book on virtual book tours. Well, a set of questions could be all about, like what we're doing here. It's actually, in essence, a training about virtual book tours. So we're not necessarily talking about a book, we're talking about the content. So you can look at the chapters of your book and come up with topic ideas. You don't want too many, but you can have maybe 2 or 3 different sets of questions so you can mix it up, especially during a virtual book tour, because if you're going to be interviewed by 5 or 6 people, and then you're going to be writing on 5 or 6 blogs, and you're going to be on a few Google Hangouts, you want the content to tie together, but you don't want it to be the same content on each site, because you really do want people to follow you from site to site. So that's an overview.
Which would be very helpful to everyone. So you don't create one can set. You're going to get in trouble of questions. And we're going to have much, much more on how to create a killer virtual book tour. My guest is D'vorah Lansky, and she has much more to share. This is Judith Briles. It's Author You, your guide to book publishing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. We'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Since 1987, Color House Graphics has set the standard for quality book production. Whether you decide to print a small quantity of books or need a large print run, depend on Color House to help you. You'll receive professional help and advice the moment you reach one of our representatives. If you mention hearing about us on your guide to book publishing, Judith Briles, we will provide you a discount on the first order you place. To speak with a project manager, call us toll-free at 800-454-1916 or visit us at www.housegraphics.com.
When Ned Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed employees with great character would make up the best company. They were right. They hired people who were not only experts in bookmaking, but who were obsessed with quality and delivering exceptional customer service. Almost 40 years later, Thompson Shore remains a 100% employee-owned company. Ned and Harry knew that successful customer projects are a direct result of empowered employees. We specialize in all books for large and small publishers. Creating beautiful and well-made books, we're dedicated to pleasing our customers by making the experience a good one from start to finish. The personal touch we have with our customers allows us to be innovative in solving their most difficult challenges. Our platform also ensures that we can remain flexible to meet our customers' unique needs and expectations. Our marketing kit can create buzz for your title, enhancing the promotion of your book during infancy. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, our skillful customer service teams are at the ready to answer your most pressing question. At Thompson Shore, we know that making the highest quality books requires more than just best technologies. It requires superior customer service, professionalism to the trade, and commitment to environmental and social values. With these standards of excellence in place, you can be sure that we will always help you put your best book forward.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Oh, it's all about creating that fabulous, if you hadn't thought about it, I'm going to tell you it's fabulous, virtual book tour. So you get to do it from your living room or from outside in the garden or in your jammies. I mean, you can do it from anywhere, anytime. And by the way, sometimes these things do happen in the middle of the night if you have a live show going on because, you know, even though we can do a lot of pre-taping of things, some people do live late in the evening or early morning possibilities. So with that said, I need to come back because D'vorah opened up a wonderful phrase, and my mind is thinking, is there a difference? So she mentioned the kit, the author interview kit. So D'vorah, what is in the kit that they all need?
Okay, so the kit is not like something you can hold in your hand. It's a virtual couple of files that you want to send to the person who is interviewing you. And just to, reiterate, a virtual book tour can include audio interviews. It can also include written blog posts. We're talking right now about audio interviews. And when you're being interviewed, you need an introduction, which they call a bio. So that's one piece. And having it be about 100 to 125 words, that just is real clear about what you do, who you are, what your book title is, and how people can connect with you. So just one URL to your website. Mm-hmm. And from there, creating one or two or three sets of questions. One set of questions about you, your author journey, and your book. One set of questions about a key concept where you can do like a more of a educational training based on the concepts of your book. And then maybe one other set of questions that would focus on another area related to your topic area. Then you want to have a headshot photograph of your smiling face and twinkling eyes and not you standing on a mountain holding a book. You want people to be able to see your face. And then a picture of your book. What I like to do is I have that posted on a page of my website that when someone interviews me, I can just send them that link and they can access everything very easily rather than me uploading all these files and hoping that the files go through their spam filter, then checking with them to make sure they got it. It just kind of streamlines the process. But as long as you check back with them, you can certainly, email them the content. So either way, but having that material easily accessible will make it easy for your hosts.
So do you recommend on the website, on the author's website, I'm assuming, I've tried to tell a lot of people that the author is the brand for me, and that to send them to a corporate website or the book title website, because there's some oddball spellings, there's some long book titles, there's and if you're going to become a breeder of books, which is very common once you start writing, are you going to have a website for every book title? Better yet, in my opinion, is you're the brand and you bring everyone back to here. Would you have any thoughts on that?
I believe that you should have one main umbrella site that reflects your work, your authorship, leaves you open, as you just said, for future books, and on a common topic area. So if you write in different topic areas and a separate book series is not related at all to your main work, you could have it on a page of your blog, but I wouldn't necessarily feature it front and center. So when you look at your main site, that's a place where if you had a brick-and-mortar building, for example, or office, and people wanted to come and meet with you, that's the branding that you want to share. And so many authors do use their name or their name with their middle initial if their name is taken, or their name with author after it as their domain name, or their business concept. Mm-hmm. And so, Judith, when I first wrote my book on book marketing made easy, I thought it was I thought it was going to be a book. I was going to do a virtual book tour, and I didn't really think much what would happen after that. Well, what happened is that became my main site, and it turned into an entire learning academy that's been going on now for about 7 years, and it's turned into a full-time business. But I did not plan that. It just happened through participating in a virtual book tour and watching what came from the experience.
Right, and it does explain everything about what you do. Mm-hmm. So, and then you can incorporate underneath it. So decide what your brand is, and then you carried in that. Would you recommend with the Author Media Kit, the interview kit, that you would have like a tab along your header here?
I wouldn't necessarily, because that's for people who are going to interview you. Mm-hmm. You could have another tab that says, interview Judith or something, or, have Judith, hire Judith, or, have Judith speak to your community or something. Obviously, it has to be a couple of words if it's going to be a tab. The page with the author kit on it is for people who are going to interview you, not for the general public. But you could certainly have a page called Interviews or, Interview Judith, or something like that people click on it, and it talks about, it has your bio, and it says, have Judith speak to your community. Do you have a community? And then you put a couple of bullet points that identify and describe your target audience. Well, Judith can come and she can speak to you on these 3 topics. If you're interested, submit a request below, and we'll be in touch with you. And then they can reach out and say, well, we'd love to have Judith come and speak to our community. And then at that point, you give them the private link, meaning that it's not a tab that they can click on your website, and they can access the interview materials, if it moves forward.
So the webmaster then can create a private tab that doesn't show, but you have access to and can share with those you want to. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So we have that. So inside this kit, you're going to have a really good picture of you, a happy picture so they can see the gleam in your eye. You're going to have a good picture, high resolution, of your book itself. Do the cover. Is that correct, D'vorah?
Exactly. So they can see it, so they can see your book cover.
Right. All right. And then 1 to 3 sets of questions, whether they're about your own personal journey, about some key concepts within the book, in that arena, and then your own separate bio. And I'm always going to recommend that if you have an oddball name, help them pronounce your name. So do it in parens or things like that, and help them out a little bit there. And then, of course, all your contact information. So good information. I got sidetracked, but I thought it was important for them to understand what that all entails.
It is important, and we just, demystified it. It sounds so mysterious, but it's really quite simple, but it's quite essential.
Mm-hmm. I think it's critical, and also that if you're going to do a virtual book tour that is directed toward book clubs, for example, which is a whole other arena that you can go off, especially the romance writers and some of the horror writers. I mean, they have their own book clubs. You want to have a very select, create questions that the book club people can get involved, so it's very interactive, which is kind of fun. I've done some of those on Skype, which makes it kind of a kick. Mm. Well, let me ask you this. People want to know, how do they find people to help host this and put it together? Mm-hmm. So let's say I have 1 or 2 really good blogsters that I'm connected with, that they know me really well, and they're fans of mine, but I don't have several dozen. What could I do if I was in that position?
That's a great question, Judith. First of all, I'd recommend for a first virtual book tour that you focus on 6 to 9 blogs. It may expand from there. You can always do a virtual book tour for your book more than once. A virtual book tour can be for a brand new book, a book that's about to be published, or a book that was published years ago. You can do a one-time virtual book tour. You can do a virtual book tour on the anniversary of the book's publication, or if the book is about, you can tie in a certain topic like National Fishing Month or something like that, and your book has fishing in it. You can then promote it during that specific month each year. So you can really have fun with this. So for your first tour, focus on 6 to 9 blogs. Make it nice and easy so that you can work out the system, because once you do this once, you'll have a template of how to produce this in the future. So let's say you've taken your pad of paper and you have, and by the way, Judith, I have a gift for you mentioned that I have a gift of templates and checklists. Well, I have this in that guide, which everyone will have access to.
Wonderful.
What you want to do is you want to make your list of the 2 or 3 blog owners that you know already. From there, jot down a couple of blogs where you don't know the blog owner, but you know that, oh, this is a blog that's really important in my industry. I'd love to be on that blog. I have no idea how I'd get connected on that blog. Well, write those blogs down. So maybe there's 2 or 3 more. So there's 6 right there. And then what you do is you visit each of those blogs and treat each of those blogs as a mini search engine. What I mean by that, when you're on a blog, you look through the articles and see, are there different authors of the blog post? Are there guest bloggers? If there are, what you do is you click to open up that article. You read the article. If it seems like, oh, this is perfect, this person attracts the same audience I attract, or we write on complementary topics, scroll to the bottom, and there'll typically be a link that you can click to go to their site. So, Judith, remind me I don't know if I should mention it now, the importance of their signature section at the bottom of their blog.
We'll come back. We're going to actually go into a break here in about 15 seconds. So we'll definitely get into the signature, because I'm kind of a wacko on picking authors to make sure they have a good signature.
Exactly. So I will talk about that.
Okay, we're going to come right back. We are talking about the elements of how do you create that first tour. This is Judith Briles. My guest is D'vorah Lansky. We're talking books.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Do you sell stuff? Do you want to sell books? Lots of them? If yes, you must take credit cards, the most widely used form of payment today. The free terminal has created a special program for your guide to book publishing listeners. No contract. All equipment is free. Extremely low rates and no termination fees ever. Contact Alan Dean at alan@thefreeterminal.com or call him at 303-668-6828. The free terminal has handled all credit card transactions for both author you and Judith for over a year. Don't wait another day. Contact Alan at thefreeterminal.com or call 303-668-68 and tell him you want the no contract author you deal.
Book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems, you want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher or by a publishing service provider, or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd if you want to create a book with no regrets. Give her a call today, 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207, or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Wow. An hour goes by pretty fast when you're having a good time. We're 45 minutes into it. I'm with D'vorah Lansky. She is an expert in authors and book marketing, and with a specialty online, which is critical today because you've all heard me say many times the internet is your town hall for book marketing. And she's written a book called 21 Ways to Launch a Successful Virtual Book Tour. I want to give everyone a website to go to, virtualbooktoursmadeeasy.com, and make sure that you sign up to follow her, as well as pick up her free gift, which will include all these templates and checklists she's going through and talking about today. So, D'vorah, as we went to the last break, we were talking about focusing on this first tour, and you're going after 6 to 9 stops, maybe with 2 people that you know fairly well, and then to identify maybe the top influencers in the arena that your book is about. And then see if they have any. We're going to do a search engine kind of espionage, and we're going to see who else, if they have guests, bloggers, and then we're going to go down to the very bottom. You were scrolling down to the very bottom, and what are we looking for?
That's where you have your signature section or your footer. That is your marketing beacon that's going to help you grow your list of email subscribers that you can build an ongoing relationship with, that will go on to purchase your book, that will go on to, many of them, to take your classes or participate in your coaching programs. And what that is, it's very much like your bio for the audio interview. It could be almost exactly the same, except for the very last sentence. So 100 to 125 words. It's short and sweet, and there's white space between, the section. You can section it into 2 sections. People will read it. So your name, your credential, author of, or best-selling author of, and then you can say your name again and 1 or 2 sentences about what you do. Skip a line so there's white space. If you're interested in this topic, come on over to Judith's blog and get your free collection of blah, blah, blah at www. Boom. That's all. One URL, and have it hyperlinked. You're going to get a lot of people coming over to your site, signing up on your list, and you'll be able to build an ongoing relationship with them. And you can create that in a Word document and save it and copy and paste it every time you go to create a new blog post.
And you should. And I'm going to add on to all of you who are writing a blog, and please tell me, you dear listeners, that you're doing your blogs, is that make sure that you have a routine. I think my signature is longer. I have a fuller bio. But you have a bio with contact information, etc., that you always put at the end of all your blogs. all of them, because they get, and then you announce to the world when you have new ones and shoot them out. But that's a whole other discussion. All right, so we've got this secret sauce, so to speak, as we put it together, and we're off and running. So we reach out. We're gonna find this contact information in the signature, and then we're gonna do what?
Then what you're gonna do? So you've gone to your friend's blog. You found out they host guest bloggers. You see an article that catches your eye, and you say, "Oh, my audience would love this. The people who read this article would be interested in my book." So you scroll to the bottom of that post, to that author's signature section, click on the link to go to their website, and boom, explore. Is it attractive? Would you like to be associated with this site? If so, write down the URL, the web address, on your list, and then go over to the blog and read a couple of the articles and leave thoughtful comments and answer questions. By answering questions, you're going to show your expertise. And I recommend when you're in that 4 to 6 week period of getting to know people and building relationships, that you have it as a recurring appointment in your calendar, maybe twice a week for 30 minutes, where you'll go to these different blogs that you're listing and interact. And don't be surprised if the blog owner doesn't reach out to you before you reach out to them, because they're going to see that you know what you're talking about. That's the easiest way.
Yeah, that is the easy way. All right. That's plan A. Plan B?
Plan B would be to go to different blog search engines, like Google. Go to Google, and Google has a search engine, which I list in the special gift that I'm created for your listeners. And you go to the Google blog search engine. You go to a place called Networked Blogs. That's ED at the end. Networkedblogs.com. And you go to HuffingtonPost.com. And you might be thinking, well, Huffington Post, how is that a blog search engine? Well, there are probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of guest bloggers. So you go over there, and in the search box, you type in words that your ideal reader would type into Google if they were looking for your book. And it will pull up articles. You click on those articles and identify ones that you relate to, that you feel like, oh, I'd like to connect with this author. Click through to their site and start to build that relationship with that author, and just make sure that you record the URL, either in a spreadsheet or on your notepad.
And there you go. It sounds terrific, all right? So it is about relationships. It is about having a blog. And so your blog, the blog world for the virtual book tour is really kind of the hub spot. Would that be true?
In fact, I call it a hub, and I use a bicycle wheel with spokes as an illustration, because your blog is the hub, is that center part of, I don't know if they call that a cog, that center part of the wheel, and then the spokes go out to the tire, which is the internet, and then you have spokes going from the tire, which is the internet, Facebook, other blogs, Amazon, to your blog, and you have this great web, this great network going on, and with your blog being the hub.
Well, that's huge. So if you were to go by, and we may have probably gone over that, but I know that we're some people who may just be joining us. So let's really, if I was going to go 1, 2, 3, what are the 3 critical things that authors should be doing right now to prepare for their future virtual book tour?
This is so important. So if you've been multitasking or whatever, tune back in, grab a pencil and paper. This is the foundation. First thing you want to do is you want to get ready for company. When you have people over to your house, you clean your house, you clean your kitchen, you make it all nice. Well, go over to your blog as if you were a visitor to your blog and clean it up. Get rid of the things that have dates from last year on it. You don't need, once the dates are passed, even on your virtual book tour, once the dates are passed, remove the dates and just create links to the names of the articles. Remove outdated content. Click on every single link on every single page on your site to make sure that the link is working. Because the fastest way to lose a reader is if they start clicking on links and they go to error pages, they'll think your site's outdated. And then look from the point of view of your ideal reader and say, does this site look like a garage sale or a five and dime store where people can get anything? Or does this look like the place, the boutique that people will come in to get your specific information? So if you write on fishing, you don't want necessarily to have articles about tractors. I mean, you could probably find a tie-in, but you want to make it, or kites. That's just too random. If it's about fishing, so have fishing and boots and fishing attire and how to protect yourself from the sun and all the things that relate to your topic area. So you want to clean up, get rid of the clutter. That's number one. Number two, when people click on that little signature section, you don't want them just to come to your site. You want them to get your free goodie. And so you want to have an opt-in box, which is a form that asks for their name and email address in exchange for your gift. So create a nice gift for them. It could be a fun story about your characters, or it could be a checklist that helps them with something that your book addresses. It could be a special report or transcripts from an interview or a link to an audio interview. So you want to have a way to capture email addresses in exchange for something of great value, not a newsletter, not updates, but something that people would be willing to give you their name and email address for.
Okay, and then we have 67 seconds for number 3.
And for number 3, all right, so number 3 would be to have your Amazon author page set up. There are like 12 things you can do over on Amazon, Amazon Author Central, where you could add your blog, your Twitter feed, all kinds of things that give you incredible credibility so that when people are checking out your book, they can click through and they can see your author page and your bio and all kinds of things. So that's Amazon Author Central.
So is that something that you would recommend that in a signature, you might have a link directly to that?
You could. During a virtual book tour, you can have one link to your site and one link over to Amazon. However, I recommend having one link to your site so that you get people to your site. You have more likelihood of them.
And you want to opt in and get their email.
Right.
Yep, exactly. Well, you can't believe this, but we are just about out of time already. So I guess I need to say we need to come back and do this again because you have a lot to say, and marketing is always a critical thing, and authors have got to get that once their book comes out, once their book's done, you're done writing, done. You are now the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer, and you've got to go. So thank you, D'vorah, for being with us on Author You, Your Guide to Book Publishing. We'll set it up again.
Thank you, Judith.
All right. And for everyone, you want to go to virtualbooktours.madeeasy.com. Sign up, follow D'vorah, and get her free gift. This is Judith Briles. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each week, a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take you, the author, to the next level. You'll learn tips and secrets on how to create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve book publishing success by making one very simple change in your book's journey. How to avoid the publishing predators. How to create an author and book platform that rocks. Learn how to make a living with your words and your books. Learn how to publish a book that has no regrets, and so much more. For more information, check out AuthorU.org, where authors who want to be seriously successful go. And Judith's website, thebookshepherd.com. Then join us again here next week for more. It's Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Brought to you by Author You and the Book Shepherd. Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on the Rockstar Radio Network.